G'day folks, Jaden Dre here with the Farm Trader magazine, and here we are at the Harvest Showcase. And for me, this is the machine that I was most looking forward to checking out. It's the Pöttinger Top 882 rake. Now, the thing that makes this so significant is this glide bar, right? So let's get to that in a minute because it's a very unique feature. But the top in this model is the model lineup, right? So that means that everything is underneath that top line. As you can see, it's got quite a high top line, a lot of strength in that. The 882 means it's 8.8 meters, and then it's also 2 beater, so one either side, and then the C at the end means center. So that's where the rake, it's raking it to the center. If we check out the rotors themselves for a start, 420mm diameter cam track, and that's got 13 tine bars on it. So that's a little bit larger and one more tine bar than some other manufacturers on the market. So what that does is it allows you to either increase your forward speed a little bit or drop your engine RPM a little bit, because obviously the tine bars are a little bit closer together, and that allows that grass to be easily swept into the middle nice and gently. Another unique feature is that these tines on the cam track actually come to the point of before it hits the row, it's actually leaning forward slightly, so that once the grass hits it, it's then more that straight up and down, instead of it hitting at 90 and then going back as the grass hits it, can leave a little bit behind, right? The other thing you'll notice here is our multi-task wheel out the front. So what that does is, as the glide bar is going along, it actually isn't touching the ground. It's not supposed to. It's actually not load bearing. But what that does is, if you come to a dip in the paddock or you've got a rise or something like that, that hits it first. It notches up the front of the of this whole assembly here, and that means that those front tines don't dig into the ground. If we just look at the glide bar by itself for a second, this is unique to this Pöttinger rake and is fantastic. Often there'll be 5, 6, 7, 8 wheels under the whole assembly here, under the rotor, but this takes all of that out, right? So you don't have any more punctures. If you talk to people who run swathers, the number one problem and the headache with them is that they get flogged around all of the time in pugged ground, rough ground, or they go flat, bit of box sawn or whatever it might be in the paddock. This alleviates all of those issues. Now, this is something that honestly, you look at it and think, I'm not sure if it works. Within like 4 meters of it going, this thing is amazing. Driving along beside it and seeing it operate, the way that it glides, hence the name, glides over the ground is very, very impressive. So the main difference with this rotor, with the glide bar underneath, as opposed to the wheeled version, is this ram at the back here. So that is chain linked up to there, and at the front you've got these accumulators either side, and what that does is you can individually set the pressure between 150 kgs and 200 kgs of ground pressure either side. This side here is slightly more because it's got the latch, and that might be maybe 1 kg heavier than the other side, so they are slightly offset. But what that means is that the glide bar is not jumping around on the ground, and you've only got between 150 kgs and 200 kgs on the ground. So that means that this isn't being shaken on the whole day of driving around rough paddocks. Around the front here, as mentioned, everything is located underneath the main beam on this, right? So we've got a nice short drive line, central gearbox, and then that goes straight out to those rotors, so that's fantastic. Around here we've got our 2 pressure gauges, so that's 1 each side, and this is how you change the pressure, right? So this tap here is up and down, so that's via your little cab monitor, center, and then individual rotor lift. That's on this tap, and then you turn it up to pressure for either side, and then here for left side, pump it up, right side, pump it up. As you can see, we've got our tine height adjustment here. On this one, it's manual, obviously. However, there is a hydraulic option. And we've got a little scale under here from A to E, and that shows us how high our FLOWTAST, the glide bar, is in relation to the ground. So just on the bottom of the FLOWTAST bar, it actually has what's the same material. It's a high polyethylene, same material as what's on moldboard ploughs essentially, and that's in 5 sections. So as it wears, you can just replace a section at a time. However, once it kind of rounds, there's been very little additional wear after that. It kind of goes through an initial wear period, and then it seems to settle down. So that's fantastic. You've got also on the 420mm cam track, it's also greasable from both the top and the bottom, and that allows just, again, those daily maintenance to be nice and easy and keeps things well lubricated in there. If we now look at the top 5 reasons why you should consider a top model Pöttinger rake, it has to start with the FLOWTAST glide bar. It's unique to the market, is fantastic, and honestly, seeing is believing. It does an amazing job at gliding over the ground. That's also helped by number 2, which is the multitask front wheel. It doesn't sit on the ground, but it just is there in case you go up any undulations, there's a dip or a hill in the paddock, it allows that whole rotor to be lifted and on that same geometry, which works fantastic. We then also look at the rotors themselves. Due to the FLOWTAST bar, you can have between 150 and 200 kgs is the ideal weight to have on that rotor. It's not flogged out as it's dragging along all day. It means that your hectares per hour is consistent all day because ground conditions don't affect it, so that's another great point. We then look at the rotor itself and the 420mm cam track. It's greasable and there's also 13 tines per cam track. So that's great in terms of being able to increase forward speed or lower RPM but still end up with a great result. The row is also helped by that adjustable cam track which has 3 settings so you can have the row however you like it. And then lastly but not least is number 5. The top line is everything is underneath it. It's a solid construction, short drive line, straight out to the rotors which have individual rotor lift and hydraulic width adjustment, and it worked fantastic during our testing. Check out the upcoming review in the autumn issue of the Farm Trader magazine as well as farmtrader.co.nz where we've got news and videos. Keep an eye on the socials and check out the YouTube channel.